Good evening. My name is Susan Mateer. I'm a Lyft driver. There seems to be a lot of confusion today regarding the safety on our app. One of the things that really brought me to love Lyft and become a driver was the fact that there's background checks on the drivers. There's the picture that cannot be changed on the app, insurance, the picture of the car, picture of the license. That's, you know, after each ride, we can rate the driver. That rating is on there as well. And that also goes for the passengers, so the drivers are kept safe. On both ends, it seems to be, you know, very comfortable for the driver and the passenger, in my opinion. Through my passengers that I have, I drive a Lyft Plus. My car is always open and available to, even though it's not specifically geared for disabled, I welcome anyone in my car. And I just really, you know, think that it's a great platform.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Jose Lopez. I'm a full-time Lyft driver. This is my only source of income. One of the things that nobody's talked about, the reason I became over a year ago a rider is because I called a taxi cab, and after an hour and a half of waiting for that taxi cab and still hadn't showed up, in 15 minutes I was able to download the app and get a ride from Lyft. So this is a great company. I mean, it's my only source of income, and nobody's talked about the horror stories. I hear horror stories from my passengers all the time of how bad they've been treated by taxi cab drivers and how long it takes them to get there and how they won't accept credit cards sometimes, that they make them stop at an ATM to get cash. So I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Chris Hoyt. I'm also a full-time Lyft driver. I've been driving for about 20 months now. I've done over 6,100 rides. The reason I actually chose Lyft and to drive full-time with Lyft is basically some of the experiences I experienced with taxis myself. Before I started driving with Lyft, I needed to get to work at 6 in the morning, got a call to get a taxi driver. I maybe could show up by 5:30, 5:45. That doesn't work for me. So I've actually experienced the bad side. I've been downtown in Sacramento after a few nights of drinks trying to get a taxi driver to pick me up. Oh, I'm not going to pick you up. You have too many drinks. So he expects us to, I guess, walk home or get other ways of transportation. This is just another way of getting transportation for people who need it that don't trust the taxi drivers. Also, one last statement, if you do regulate it statewide. The reason I say statewide is we as Lyft drivers, we drive in multiple cities. It gives us the opportunity when we're on vacation or visiting other family members in other part of the state to earn money while we're in that particular city as well.
How you doing? So out of fear of retribution, I'd like to not state my name, call me Bob if possible. I have a very unique stance in that I am currently a driver for a platform, but also currently an ex-driver for the other one. I was deactivated because of a complaint, which I felt was unjust. And when addressing this to the company, Lyft in particular, they put me off. It's been 6 months, they still put me off. So what I'm trying to address is I do agree with the fact that it's very unstable. It's not a great job. It's not a job where you can depend on, and you can be deactivated at any time for any particular thing. So I do agree that there should be some regulation. I also agree that there should be a cap on the number of drivers. As a driver, I started January of last year. I was making about double what I'm making now, and I believe that's due to the oversaturation, as well as the fact that they're creating their own prices, and those prices have been brought down to minimal, and the price wars going, who can take it the lowest, and how many drivers can we get to work for less. They're always hiring drivers that'll work for less money than the drivers who were hired before. So that's very frustrating.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Christopher Fulkerson. Thank you, Senators, for calling this hearing. I have been driving a cab for 25 years in San Francisco, where I hold Medallion 43. I'm on the Taxi Task Force, which is an industry committee convened for the Director of Transportation to advise him. I do pay my taxes, I obey all laws, but I am not in return getting the political representation that results in the civilization I deserve. The war with Uber has reduced my earnings from an annual $70,000 6 years ago to subsistence level now. Recently, I was rejected from Covered California because I don't make enough money. It is an absolute outrage, completely shameful, that I am being punished for playing by the rules. I have a PhD in musical composition from UC Berkeley. It is in the context of my 20 years of research on an opera I'm writing on the Nuremberg trial, on the reading for it of thousands of pages of history and court transcripts, and not some vague, hysterical warning about rising fascism, that I make the following remarks. You need to beware the effects of powerful and well-coordinated political engineering that is using every available component of sophisticated propaganda, including television series, classical music, and secret government patronage, to revive a predatory culture the public doesn't suspect could ever again exist. The methods being used make Cold War methods look like touchstones and petroglyphs. You need to beware of giving free rein to companies with glib names of German words that are redolent of landside, that's right, U-fleets and Luftwaffen. What is happening now compares to World War II, the way the War of 1812 compares to the American Revolution.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Kamalji Singh. If you want to see how many TNC, Uber, and Lyft come on Friday, you're going to see is 25 to 35,000 cars in the city. Let them city regulate. Why is CPU? CPU not doing anything, you know. Let them city control. I bought the Medallion $250,000. I investment that. So now I don't have money to pay my mortgage. I lost 75% of my income. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Ijaz Ahmed, and I am a taxi driver, driving a taxi for 27 years in San Francisco, and I have been robbed twice. Once robbed the SFMTA with the $250,000. The second time I am getting robbed by the CPUC, who allows all of these TNC people to go and rob that poor cab driver. They want to share the economy. Why don't they find some rich folks where they have the millions and billions and get their share from them, instead of the poor cab driver who was making about 25 years ago $100 a day, and even today we are not making even a $50. I have 4 kids. The one of them is going to the college in next year, and then is a 11th grader and 8th grader and 6th grader. How can I afford? I came here, my taxi is parked, I have no driver, nobody is willing to drive for a taxi because there is no customer. As you heard that there is a 16,000 Uber drivers, how many Lyft? Let's say 10,000 Lyft drivers and 16,000, 26,000 drivers are extra every day in San Francisco. Who's gonna give a damn to the taxi?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
My name is Saran Paul Bains, and I am from San Jose. There are 2 questions. One is from your side, and one is from my side. Your side is leveling the ground. Uber is running off from leveling the ground. They don't want to have a commercial plate. They don't want to have a commercial insurance. They don't want to have their drivers fingerprinted. My question is, if they have a fingerprinting, half of their illegal driver working in the Uber will run away. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Marvin Quaresma. I represent the Silicon Valley Taxi Workers Alliance Union, and also I'm a taxi driver. So I'd just like to ask you, sir, of course I thank you for listening to us, but I'd like to ask you, sir, to not allow the TNC or the ride-sharing company to hide behind their, like ride-sharing or TNC name or app, so that they could escape paying the fees that we pay. If they want to be in the business, let them pay. We don't complain. We pay the fees. If they're concerned about safety and they said they are for the safety, then let them get fingerprinted. What's wrong with that? To us, we do that. We don't complain about that. And don't let, and also, sir, if you're going to limit us, also limit them. Like, for example, like the guy said, he can go anywhere. He can practice his driving, you know. What about us? We can only practice our driving where we are permitted. Why are we, you know, why are we, as the guy said, why punish the guys who are loyal and following the rules? You should reward those people. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
My name is Siyum Azrat. I'm from San Jose. First of all, I would like to say thank you to the chairman. The way you asked the question, you have played your public role to the highest extent. Thank you. Senator Jim Bell, probably you don't remember me. We know each other since the days of your Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors. So I might have aged 10 years in 1 year because of TNC. That's why I have more gray hair now. And I would like to speak to two things. The economics of the drivers. You can put every cosmetic in the world on Uber and Lyft. There is no way right now a driver with Uber and Lyft can make a living by driving at least 11 hours. For example, in San Jose, right now, their fee is 85 cents per mile. Out of that, they take 25%. So we are talking about the Bangladesh sweatshop or somewhere in Mexico. Now this is a modern sweatshop coming here.
Thank you, sir. Can you wrap?
Cut me off, but okay. Thank you.
Appreciate you coming down.
Commissioners, thank you. My name is Jeffrey Rosen. I'm a San Francisco cab driver, and I appreciate you having this hearing today. It just turned off. Is it on? Okay. I remember when Uber first started out, they were called Uber Cab. Just mentioning that. This is really a labor issue and an economic issue. You guys have heard many arguments today. The unsustainable income by myself now, which is not viable to raise my family, to feed my family, I have to borrow. And the drivers even of the other TNCs, we're all out there making a scant income. It's also a public safety issue. And you can't compromise the regulations by lowering them when it's a public safety issue. You can't change background checks. We do need fingerprinting, vehicle inspections, commercial licensing. None of this can be compromised. Local municipalities should have jurisdiction. All cities in California operate on a different level. This is the same group of TNCs and just drivers in general offering the same service to the public with different regulations. I believe that is called unfair competition straight across the line. That affects my personal rights as a driver and all drivers, and it affects my ability to make a reasonable living. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for coming down.
My name is Gordon Hernandez. I've been a cab driver for 26 years, and thank you, Chairman Wisso, for listening to us, and Senator Beal, and the rest of the chairmen. I consider myself a professional driver, and when the passengers get into my cab, the ones that use the Flywheel app, which is the cab industry's answer to the smartphone apps that people use, I ask them, and they constantly, well, first I thank them for supporting us, but then I ask them that they say they really love Flywheel because their experience with the Lyft or the Uber drivers is that they don't know where they're going, and the cab drivers are able to negotiate and get through traffic. And so I just would encourage you to just consider that we are experienced and we're full-time drivers.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you for your time. My name is Abdul Nasser Ali. I've been driving as a cab for 20 years, and I'm asking just if you can eliminate the Uber and Lyft. There's too many cars for only just 3 mile by 2 mile. No matter the technology have failed in this app, that no matter how many cars they have, the app, the app doesn't get to the customer in the, when everything is blocked. We need to reduce their number and background check. And thank you. I appreciate all your help.
Hi, my name is Isa Degman. Thank you for listening to me. I worked in the city of San Francisco for 15 years, off and on as a cab driver, drove 5 years limo. I'm a real hybrid guy. I actually also, once in a while, I tried Uber X. 2 years ago, Uber announced, come and work for me for $40 an hour. 4 months ago, he says, come work for me for $19 an hour. Uber ran out of fish. Uber is eating Uber. Half of my friends are limo drivers, Uber drivers, taxi drivers. I'm a taxi driver, bought a medallion. I have a hotel and restaurant management degree. I own 2 restaurants. I follow money. If you don't want to tell me there's a car called Flying Monkey, makes money, I'll jump on it. There's no more money in any industry. Not even Uber, you could make money. You have to drive 15 hours a day, maybe to make $200 when I used to make it in 8 hours, $300, $400. Second point I want to make, 6 months ago I came here to this room, Uber saying, he's not commercial, he's a private car. He's picking up people left and right making money. How silly is that idea of them? I can't even believe that idea is still on the board. Third
Please wrap
point.
it up, sir.
Insurance. AAA and farmers, if you call them up today and you tell them I need to insure a cab, 20 years ago I even made that phone call. They said we don't insure taxi cabs. So now they have a special programs for them to insure these cars. So how come we are on the blacklist and they don't have... the market is not completely even. They need to downsize their cars. They need to control them. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Barry Korngold. I'm with the San Francisco Taxi Alliance. I've been a cab driver over 33 years in the Bay Area, 25 in San Francisco. I've never seen this kind of traffic that's being caused by TNCs. They're claiming that they're good for the environment, but they're actually putting people in cars. They're saying they're not commercial vehicles, they're personal vehicles, but if you're using your vehicle primarily as for commercial purposes, why are you still a personal vehicle? They're saying there's 16,000 drivers in San Francisco. Kalanick said there were 22,000 last May. And then Lyft has said there's tens of thousands of vehicles in San Francisco. They're not being straightforward, everybody. Why isn't the CPUC finding this information out? They don't do any enforcement. You can have all the rules you want. If there's no enforcement, what good does it do? So we need to have a level playing field here. My income's been cut 50%. I think everybody here is having trouble surviving, so thank you for having this hearing, and I hope you can level this playing field somewhat. One more thing, I'd like to make a point that they're getting this special treatment because they have apps.
Sure,
taxis have had apps all this time. It's not
a lot of you are repeating the same points, and if you've heard it before, try to make a different point if you can, just so we can hear a different, you probably have a lot more to say. And if you're going to say something somebody else has said, it's really of no good, not a lot of use to us. So try to keep your comments brief. We're going to wrap up in a few minutes. So we'd love everybody to get a word in. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Hello. My name is Roberto Martinez. I'm from, I live in San Francisco. I'm a taxi cab driver full-time. I drive 60 hours a week, you know. I used to work on weekends, but on weekends now you cannot make money. We have to work at the regular days. You know, I bought a medallion, I make a big investment, you know, and now every time I make less money, I like competition. It's making me be better, you know, but that competition is too many. A lot of new drivers come from other places. You can see in the wrong ways. It's dangerous. Please try to reduce the number of that. Thank you so much.
My name is John Klein. I'm a yellow cab driver in San Francisco. I've been driving since 2001, mostly two nights a week. And my income has dropped from, I could average $200 a night to now have Saturday nights when I make $75 and I'm driving around empty for 2 hours. This is not right. It's just there has to be a limit on how many cars are out on the street, and I think that Uber is a criminal enterprise that's being They gave $5 million to a discretionary fund to Ed Lee, and they've got they claim $60 billion in investments, and they're screwing their drivers, they're screwing us, they're screwing everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. I'm sorry, I have an allergy, so I try my best. My name is Ahmad Mahmoud. I'm a taxi cab driver here in the city of Sacramento. I'm also the spokesperson for the Sacramento Taxi Associations, the yellow and red color. My responsibility is meeting with the city hall and media, local media, any related issues to the taxi. And I'm also behind the people that brought Flywheel here to Sacramento. I guess I have just a simple question for you guys. Is this the great, I know it may sound stupid question, but there's a point behind it. Is this the great city of California? Is this the United States of America, the equal opportunity for every person in regard to the race, individual or company? If this is the case, why we're here? Why we're bending over for Uber? Why can't we be just equal for everybody?
Thank you.
Simple. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alex Steffen, Yellow Cab in Monterey, California. I left some pictures with the gentleman. I hope they'll share them with you. This is one of those pictures showing Uber is openly operating as a taxi company. This is from the Super Bowl. And at the Super Bowl, they had a lot where people lined up by the hundreds. And if you're in the back of the line of hundreds of people and you can't get in the car until you get into the front of the line, that's not technology, that's a taxi stand.
Thank you, sir.
I have a couple more points, please.
Well,
the current rules that make TNCs unfair also make them unsafe. I hope you're aware that Uber does not have insurance covering rides with unaccompanied minors. That is a danger that should be taken care of right away. The issue of fingerprint background checks has already been decided. It's been decided by the military. I work with 2 military bases, give a military discount. I can go up on base because I've had fingerprint background checks. TNC drivers, they wait at the gate.
Thank you, sir.
I have one more point.
Sir, we got to wrap up.
My last point, sorry. I've opened up the Uber app right here, and if you'd like to see if there's any ADA accessible vehicles, there are not. It is empty. Thank you.
My name's Mary McGuire, and I'm a taxi driver in San Francisco, and a former taxi commissioner in San Francisco. I wanted to thank Senator Hueso for your pointed questions to the PUC. How can they expect to regulate if they don't have the most basic information, like who's driving the cars or how many there are? Many years ago, I read a paper by Bruce Schaller called The Revolving Door of Taxi Regulation, Deregulation, and Re-regulation. And basically, high demand leads to deregulation, and public safety and other things are compromised, and eventually always it goes back to regulation, to re-regulation. And this has happened over and over again in many cities. We need more regulations, not less, and local control, because what's good for Orange County may not be good for San Francisco. Thank you.
Dmitry Nazarov, driver in San Francisco. It's very hard to add something to what the people already said, but I just want to say that I call this not ride-sharing economy, it's lie-sharing economy, because it's based on lies. Lies that it gives benefits to people. All of us like free stuff or cheap stuff. That's what's happened with Uber. They're burning right now $60 billion that they have money of investors to kill the competition. Because the ride that they provide right now, it's impossible. No drivers can live on these earnings. In addition, I want to also say that they claim that they are kind of safest drivers. It's also a lie, because the lawsuit has been settled for $28 million already with Uber and Lyft about their safety claim. And last point, I just found $20 million for transportation fund. You know, how about 100,000 drivers will pay commercial license plate for the beginning? You know, it's not bad. You know, 20 millions you cannot find on the road.
Спасибо, друг.
Good afternoon or good evening. My name is Iqbal Durrani. Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the rest of you guys. Mr. Jim Bill, I never, in the public, ask you this. Thank you when you stand with me when the Yellow Cab fired me in the city of San Jose. And I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate that also you touching the point that the people we pick as with wheelchairs we're talking about. Gentlemen, just take my word out. And go right now on the Uber or TNC app. There's no vehicle available. How many taxis out there available will have the wheelchairs? And let me ask you this also, it's Santa Clara County, we used to be $40 million subsidy by others to pick up the outreach people. You know who pick? I pick. So you don't pick, other people pick. And we subsidize also too, less meter. If you go today right now for the wheelchair, they are 1.4%. They're gonna pay more money. You know that also, those people pay less money. They don't have less money. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you, sir.
But anyhow, thank you for that.
Appreciate your comments.
Yeah, my name is Tony Fletcher, and I'm a San Francisco cab driver. And basically, all I want to say is a few things, because I only have a little bit of time. Sharecropping economy is another word for the sharing economy. It's the sharecropping economy. It's basically the new app-based economy, and where people basically have no working rights whatsoever. And these app-based companies that are in the ride-sharing market are basically not ride-sharing companies, but transport for hire companies with large amounts of public funding, private funding, which they use to drive the prices down and use predatory pricing practices to draw large numbers of people into their vehicles. They talk about, the airport commission always talk about this large surge in ridership, but how much of that is due to the very low prices that they are offering these people rather than, a competitive service. So, it's really hard to say, well, it's so great, we all love this app, but they also like the price.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. And one more comment.
That's all, sir. Thank you. We've got still a lot of people.
Good evening. I'm Thomas Connie, San Francisco cab driver, 6 years. And I just want to ask that the TNCs have some more permanent trade dress. It's common practice. You see with these guys, they get into accidents and they tear all the trade dress off of their cars, or they display it on their visors that they flip up and down. They do have transparency between driver and customer, but anything that happens outside of the cab, it's anonymous.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Tokumbo Sholari, and I'm a cab driver from San Francisco, and I drive for Yellow Cab. And I want to thank both committees, for setting up all this for this hearing. There's no things that I have to say because all the questions that I thought about coming here has been asked by the chairman. But one thing that wasn't asked was about the safety of people in California. We have TNC cars coming from New York. As the gentleman here said, they can drive the TNC, go on a vacation to another city or another state and pick up. It's TNC that comes from New York. I've seen them from New York, from Seattle, from other states that came to San Francisco just to walk here in San Francisco during the Super Bowl. And they come here without the DOT, which is a federal government transportation. They don't have that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, Frank Fahey, San Francisco, cab driver. I like to tell my passengers it's the third oldest profession, and it's been regulated since this started. And it's heavily regulated because we're transporting people, probably the most important or the most valuable. Well, it's not turnips. We're the thing we like the most is ourselves. And that's why it's regulated. And all of the cab trips start in San Francisco, and most of the ones with the TNCs begin and end up in San Francisco. It should be regulated in San Francisco, and every municipality that wants to regulate them should regulate them, but those that don't, the state should regulate. But otherwise, the city should be regulating taxis completely.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Hello, my name is Susan McLaughlin, and I am a Lyft driver. And as a driver who does drive part-time, I would like to say that I really like being able to give back to other people. It has been an honor to actually sit and ride with passengers that have sight dogs in my car. I love the fact that I can help other human beings. Now, I do agree that the TNCs have economically hurt the taxi cab companies because they are lesser in fares. I would like to see the TNCs a little more regulated so that there is more of an even platform on the cost side of it. Everybody in this room is working hard to support their families and to support themselves. That's what we're all here for. Thank God for the American way. However, it does need to be fair and it does need to be more regulated. I would not like to see it regulated by the city because there are times I picked up people in Rancho Cordova and drove them to San Francisco International Airport for a flight. If this is going to be regulated, it would really need to be done statewide, not citywide.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Very nice comments. Thank you. We appreciate them very much.
Good evening. My name is Craig Nelson. I'm a San Francisco taxi driver, and I purchased a medallion for $250,000 just over a year and a half ago. And I have one question. Why are all drivers in the state of California required to carry proper insurance, except for Uber X and Lyft drivers, who are allowed to commit insurance fraud and break the law every time they go to work? Can someone answer that for me?
Thank you. We want to thank everybody for coming in long ways to be part of this hearing. It was very informative, and I, for one, learned quite a bit myself. I hope that this legislature decides to take action on this issue. If not, working with the PUC to come up with a comprehensive regulatory framework. I think it's necessary. I think both sides of the equation believe it's necessary. Even the speakers here that at one point were not open to regulation made a claim that they're being regulated. And I think that by in itself, making the claim is enough to accept the fact that regulations to level the playing field are necessary. I think the most important part is not so much just to create regulation, but we're talking about consumer protection. We're talking about worker protection. We're talking about public safety. We're talking about keeping the consumers, well served and protected. And for that, an absence of regulation is not going to cut it. And self-policing is not going to cut it. And if the PUC does decide to go down that path, and they do create a regulatory framework, they have to be able to enforce it. And I think that's going to be part of the mix as well, a practical solution with the mechanism to uphold the law to make sure that all of you are made whole in our ability to provide transportation to the people of California. So, Senator Bell, did you want to make any closing comments?
Just that I want to thank everybody for being here. This is going to be a very hard issue to deal with, and we'll be continuing to have discussions on this. And thank you for your active participation at our hearing today. Thank you.
Thank you, and have a good evening, everybody.